Hey Wargamers, welcome back to the channel, Death from Above Wargaming. I'm Aaron and I am back with more Battlytics. This time, one that I have wanted to look at for quite some time, one that was voted on by our patrons, the Kingfisher. So let me tell you about this bad boy. There's one reason that I love it. Well, actually two. The first reason and the primary reason is it's an Omni Mech that does not have an XL engine. The second reason is it has tons of clan pulse lasers on it. So what could go wrong? It's fantastic. I can't wait to dive in and see how well this thing does. I mean, will this thing break the glass ceiling or is it going to be a dud? I don't know. I mean, it's not cheap, 2401 battle value. It is a 90-ton clan mech that was allegedly built, I think, by Clan Snow Raven, based on some older Clan Wolverine design that, they can't talk about anymore because, no one talks about Clan Wolverine. But anyway, the Kingfisher, very cool, very exciting. Guys, stay tuned. This is one you are not going to want to miss. All right, so here it is, technical overview of the Kingfisher Prime. Now, again, I mentioned it's an Omni Mech. There's tons of different variants. The Prime is one that sticks out at me, so that is the one we're going to look at now. This is a 90-ton Clan Assault Mech. It was produced in 2887, so this thing is venerable. It is a movement profile of 4.6, which is, pretty good for a 90-ton mech. That's not, especially with a standard fusion engine, right? I mean, I think that's about as fast as they can get with a standard. And it has a dissipation of 34 heat sinks. Well, it's got, half of that. They can dissipate 34. It's got double heat sinks, obviously. We talked about this. Standard fusion engine, beautiful. It's got endosteel structure, so good weight savings there. And then it has ferrofibrous armor, which it makes tremendous use of. 14.5 tons of armor for 278 pips. That's 99.6% coverage on a 90-ton mech. That's a ton of armor. 278 pips is a lot. So if you look at this thing, the armor diagram looks phenomenal. Only the side torsos are just slightly under 100%. Otherwise, it's full. It has no hand actuators. It's got guns all over the place. Speaking of guns, it has two of my favorite weapons in the game, the Clan Large Pulse Laser. It's got one in the right arm, one in the center torso. That's backed up by a Clan LRM-10 in the left torso. And then on the left arm, it has a Streak 6 and an ER Small Laser, and then two Clan Medium Pulse Lasers round that out, one in each torso. Ammo is in the left torso and the left arm respectively, so you got to take care, protect that left side. But of course, all clan locations are cased. And remember, no XL engine, so even if you take out the ammo in that left torso, this thing is still going to be punishing. It's got those two large pulse lasers unaffected there on the right side and center respectively. So very interested to see how this one pans out. So guys, don't go away. We're going to get into the offensive benchmarks next. All right, so here we are. That's a lot of damage already. I can tell you. It's also a lot of heat. So what do we see here? Well, we don't see a very flat damage curve. We see a very much a slowly rising. The closer you get, the more damage this thing does. It can get very hot. That's not to be mistaken. I mean, basically, as soon as you get into range, once you're within like that 12-inch mark, you're building up, 3, 4, or 5 points of heat a turn, something along those lines. I want to talk about the baseline damage because this blows me away. Baseline, this thing does 346.3 points of damage. When you optimize it, you take on a little bit of heat as you get into those close range brackets. It builds up 357.2. So you can notch it up 3%, basically 11 points of damage. It's not bad. But just that number, forget the optimization. just that number alone, 357, 346, either way, that's an astronomical amount of damage. I'm going to go into the database right now, and I want to tell you, I think this might actually be one of the highest mechs we've ever looked at. Well, of course, not including the Direwolf. The Direwolf A did 489.5, by the way. That's bananas. The only things ahead of this, so this placed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 6 mechs ahead of this. Timberwolf A had 357. Stone Rhino had 386. Warhammer 2C 393. And then the Direwolves are up there in the 400s, 450 and 489 respectively. Oh, also the Warhawk Prime does 351. So this is really on par. And the Marauder 2C does just less at 345. So this is on par with some of the biggest hitting clan mechs in the game, in my opinion. You know, Direwolves are in another territory there. But factoring those outliers out, I mean, this is right there with Warhawk, Marauder 2C. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Anyway, let's look at the lethality. This thing hits 100% kill rate by like turn 8. It's insane. It kills the javelin so fast, it doesn't even know what happens. 18.1% of the time it's from the head. 80% of the time it's from, you know, torso kills, basically just coring it out. And then, you know, the rest, a very, very small percentage of engine kills there. Time to kill is 5.95. That means basically in under 6 turns, this thing can shred, you know, a javelin, which again, in Classic, where you're not guaranteed that all your weapons are hitting, you know, the same spot, that's an amazing number. That's probably one of the best numbers, I think, that I've seen in terms of time to kill. So that's really, really good. I mean, average damage per hit is very high, 7.3. Critical hits is actually on par, 3.4. I was actually expecting a little bit more. You know, with the Streak 6 and the LRM 10, but I guess most of the weapons, yeah, I don't know. Considering the array of weapons, I was expecting a higher number there, but it is what it is. The simulations do not lie. It's impressive. I mean, it's impressive all around, and I will tell you one other thing. The medium pulse lasers for the clan variety, very, very good weapon, right? You can hit 12 hexes away. They're so good compared to the Innersphere variety, much like those large pulse lasers. So anyway, I'm done gushing. The offensive benchmarks blow me away. Let's take a look at the defensive. I have good feelings about that too, but let's see. All right, so here it is. It's basically right on spec everywhere. Again, those side torsos, I believe, were just a little bit under. It's not even noticeable on this chart, but you know, basically you're at 100% coverage there. There is just a slight underage there. Now, in terms of the mobility analysis, this thing doing phenomenally. Basically 0.5% of the time it takes a motive hit. The legs are packed out with critical slots. It has got, you know, heat sinks in this case, I believe. So it's basically at a +2 the whole game. You know, you're able to rely on your speed the entire game. If we look at the survivability, the raw score 95.1%. In fact, I think that might be the same as the Fafnir. If not, it's very, very close. No ammo deaths, which is phenomenal. Not a single death caused by ammunition. Why? Again, your case, there's no XL engine. It's beautiful. You literally cannot kill this mech with an ammo kill, unless, you know, no, you can't, period. Because again, there's no engine, and the damage will never bleed in courtesy of case. So engine deaths were at 0.6%. Again, you're gonna have to eat through all of the armor, and you're gonna actually have to get 3 critical hits on the engine. And the CT head deaths made up 4.4%. So again, tremendous survivability, great mobility, great armor coverage. Battle value is not that high, 2401. It's less than a Fafnir. I feel real good about the efficiency. What do you think? Let's dive in and see. That's my Home Alone reaction. It's insane. That is insane. It did in fact break the glass ceiling. We are in the over 10 range here. And also it has the weird Battle Cobra syndrome where over Gunnery 2, the efficiency starts to drop off. So check this out. It only has 2% damage loss. Again, we just talked about a 95.1% survivability, and efficiency rating at Gunnery 2 is 10.4. It's 10.41. That is really, really, really good. For that Gunnery 2, again, you're dealing 349.9 points of effective damage. That's what, out in this simulation, that's what you would expect out of this mech at Gunnery 2. You can get more out of Gunnery 1 and Gunnery 0, but again, your efficiency sort of drops off. So the return on investment, right, the battle value cost sort of starts to outpace the damage you can do. If you want to do it, go for it. I wouldn't. I think Gunnery 2, hell, I'd even say Gunnery 3 is probably great for this mech. 292 damage is nothing to scoff at, and you're under 3,000 BV in that case, right? That is pretty impressive. So for Gunnery 3, right, you're at 2881. At Gunnery 4, I wouldn't do that. You're at 2401. That's the base value of the mech. So that is just absolutely mind-numbing. Now, if I go to the database and I look at efficiency, this ranks number 4 all time. The only ones better are, shockingly, the Direwolf A, the Direwolf Prime, the Warhammer 2C actually has a very high efficiency, actually 10.5 for the Warhammer 2C. So very close to the Warhammer 2C in terms of efficiency. A whole bunch of other mechs beat it in terms of damage. If you remember, it was like number 7 or number 6 or something like that. But they don't, like the Marauder 2C were right next to it in terms of damage, but it was only an 8.88 in efficiency. This is a 10.4. So bang for buck, the Kingfisher, it's a moneymaker. It's absolutely incredible. So let's take a look at threat, rolls, all that good stuff, and we'll wrap this thing up. All right, so big numbers all over the place. The first thing I will call out is the peak Alpha Strike at 6 inches is 61 points of damage. Now, we've seen higher, but I think what's interesting is the ACD cap, right? The ability to actually deliver that damage is 86%, which is much higher than average. We've seen them as low as 50. Some of them are even lower if they're all missiles. This one is actually pretty high. You have a very high chance of hitting. Why is that? There's 2 reasons: streaks and pulse. You've got 4 weapons that are pulse weapons. Your medium pulses, you got 2 of them. You got 2 large pulses. All of those weapons are hitting at -2 to your gunnery, right? Basically, -2 your target number. And then the streaks, right? It's fire and forget or don't fire at all, right? I mean, they're either hitting or they're not. So that's a nice boon as well. So that brings those numbers up. That brings up your ability to actually deliver the damage, which is really, really good. So your peak ACD is 52.5. That's at 2 inches, right? So again, the closer you get, the better it is. There's no minimum range on this guy. And so when I think about rolls, Brawler, first and foremost, get this thing in, get it stuck in, run it early, and just deliver the pain. Once you are within 12 inches and those medium pulse lasers are in range, yes, you can start building up heat, to the tune of 3 points per turn if you're alpha striking, but just lay off the LRM-10 or something like that. You'll be fine. Get those reliable weapons in, and I think this thing is really, really going to deliver for you. The closer you get, the better. Don't be afraid to just get in there and really mix it up. And it's a 90-ton mech. Like, kick people too while you're at it. I mean, 90-ton mech does a ton of damage in a kick situation. So love this thing in close. I mean, I'm just imagining it in a city, just marauding around, chewing people up, or a canyon, whatever. Vanguard's probably my second role for this thing. Put it out in front. It is a walking tank. You cannot kill this thing with an ammo explosion. Don't be afraid. Just fear not and run the Kingfisher up the center of the field. I mean, let people shoot at it. That's fantastic. And if they don't, oh well, it's their loss, right? I mean, you're going to deliver tons of damage. I did put Defender down as a third role for this thing. Probably not the best role for this mech, but I still think a very good one because you've got the LRM-10 and you've got 2 large pulse lasers. You can hit 20 hexes 20 inches away. You can do a substantial amount of damage, even if this thing is stuck at that range. But as the enemy closes, and they inevitably should have to, unless you're dominating, somewhere else on the board, if they're going to close to the point that you're defending, right? Whether it's a narrow pass, whether it's an objective, whether it's whatever it might be, capture the flag game, whatever, like they're going to have to get within 12 inches. They're going to have to get within 6 inches. You're going to have a lot of firepower to bring to bear at that point. And I'm telling you right now, like if you alpha strike at 6 inches and you build up, 6 or 5 points of heat, like who cares? You're likely to do 50 points of damage to them. That's what's happening. And so most mechs are not going to be able to survive that, right? They're going to either have to take a piloting check and fall over if you play that optional rule, like, they're going to end up taking the piloting check, or you're just punching through their armor. 52 damage is, again, nothing to scoff at. So those are my roles. I'm in love with the Kingfisher. I think I have one on the paint bench. I've been finishing up some House Steiner guys. I don't know, maybe by the time this video is out, I will have painted like 40 Kingfishers because this thing is really good. If you really hate the person you're playing against, play like Direwolf A, Timberwolf A, Kingfisher. Definitely put those mechs on the table. Warhammer 2C, Marauder 2C, that combination of mechs is just awful. Awful for your opponent, fantastic for you. I'm sure it's going to be very expensive to field something like that, but that is a nasty. That's like my dream team, as it were. If I were going to the Olympics with a star of mechs, it would be those mechs. The Kingfisher would be in it. It is an impressive design, and I'll be honest with you, like I never care. I was like, oh, Kingfisher, like what a stupid mech. But if you really get under the hood of this thing, it looks kind of goofy. It sort of reminds me of a Sunder, the Inner Sphere Omni-Mech, right? It's got that sort of goofy design. But when you get under the hood of this thing, holy crap, it's a beast. Standard engine, tons of pulse weaponry, tons of armor, like decent speed. There is nothing I can say bad about the Kingfisher. Speaking of not saying anything bad, the other thing I can't say anything bad about is Aries Games and Minis. Absolutely phenomenal service, and you can get everything you want to satisfy your BattleTech cravings. You can get a Kingfisher, you can get a Direwolf, you can get a Timberwolf, you can get anything you want BattleTech over at Aries Games and Minis, including dice, including terrain, including the novels, the rule books, whatever you need. Definitely check out Aries Games and Minis if you're wondering where to get your BattleTech fix. Also, speaking of BattleTech fixes, please click the subscribe button. Give the video a like. Leave me a comment. Tell me if you knew the Kingfisher was as awesome as it is, because I didn't. Honestly, I had no idea. Blown away by how good it is. Tell me if you knew. Tell me if there are any other hidden gem Kingfisher variants out there that I should be looking at. Very interested to hear about that. And of course, if you want to get more involved in the channel, you can head on over to Patreon. We have just as little as $1 a month. It's like 25 cents a week, depending on how many weeks there are in the month. 20 to 25 cents. That's all it takes to help out the channel. So that certainly is fantastic. And if you want to get more involved, access to our digital tools like our Destiny card builder and some of our Alpha Strike tooling, exclusive downloads, things like that. There's a $5 tier. And then if you really love us, and you love what you see, you can go on over to the $10 tier where you get access to vote on the direction of the channel, and you can be a participant in our veteran challenges and win cool prizes and things like that. So that's all I got. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. I cannot wait to put a Kingfisher on the table against Tom. Stay tuned. Always good stuff coming from Death from Above Wargaming. Have a good night.